Welcome to this very special edition of the KAJ Masterclass Live, the show which ensures that you profit from your time spent here with experts, either through their industry insights, information, or simply learning from them. And today we have Devin Bisanz. He is a renowned speaker coach and motivational speaking expert. Welcome to the show, Devin.
I love the energy. I love it.
Thank you. Thank you, Devin. You are welcome to the show. You are welcome to India in this online form. And I'm sure not just in India, but a lot of people across the globe will benefit from what we are going to talk right now. We'll be talking about mastering the art of public speaking. It is very much important in nowadays to speak everywhere it is involved, either in terms of this podcast, either in terms of speaking to your colleagues, or either on Zoom or anywhere else. So I want to understand from you about, for the audience, who is Devin Bisanz? What has been your journey? How would they know, okay, this is the person from whom we can learn the mastering the art of public speaking? Tell us a bit about your own journey.
I'm going to give you the cliff notes to my journey. So when I was 21, I got rear-ended by a pickup truck and I had a traumatic brain injury. I was riding a motorcycle. All right. At 24, after going through a few years of in the hospital and going through that traumatic brain injury, I went back to school and I was doing really well, but I got into selling drugs. And then when I did that for a couple of years and I got really into drugs, and I was deep into drugs because through my motorcycle accident, I'd go to one doctor who would ask me to talk about the problem all the time. And then I would go away and I would live this life of where I didn't have any problems or any brain injury. And then I'd go back to another doctor and I got really confused. I used to tell people I'm one half invincible and one half scared of opening my eyes. So what happened was I went down a deep, deep hole and I started writing a book, and it was the only way out for me. And when I wrote this book, I was like, geez, I want to talk about this book. So I joined a public speaking community and I wasn't good at speaking. I ended up going out and interviewing professional speakers and just asking them, hey, what can I do to engage audiences? What can I do? How can I really make people listen to me? How can I transform people? They started teaching me little tricks. I started sharing them with people, and then I started training youth speakers. And I had a few youth speakers who won really high-level championships, international speaking competitions. Some air cadets won their top championships. And then that just kept bringing more and more students to me. And finally, I ended up and I started going and training. It just turned into a full-time business. I just went from referrals to just having a business. And now I train a lot of corporate, a lot of executives, managers, a lot in the tech industry, and a lot of people in sales and professionals.
Right, Devi. And now you are a trusted authority in speaker training and motivational training. But I want to understand, where did you get motivation for yourself, especially after that accident? People can, and going from one place to another, seeking help to doctors, to other places, one can lose hope in so many things. How and where did you get this motivation from?
You definitely do lose hope along the way. And I feel like when you lose hope and when you're really, when you're kind of out and you're broken, that's when you find something that makes you want to go and do great things again. So I feel like when I was broken and I started writing that book, I was like, geez, I want to talk about this and I want to motivate people. And that started to drive me, that need to want to motivate people and want to share a message that I didn't even know at the time what my message was. I just wanted to talk. And honestly, as well, there's a lot of money to be made in the world of speaking. And I wanted to build up wealth, write books. And then that sort of became my motivation. And then in time is just thinking, how can I make this bigger so that I can become a brand and a product? And so it's kind of a growth curve on the journey of being a professional speaker.
Wonderful. So now, for people who are, say, wanting to get into public speaking, or people who want to fine-tune the way they are doing their public speaking, what is the way that they can get started with this particular thing? What are the key elements of effective public speaking that you focus on in your coaching centers, coaching sessions? So that people can learn from you about, they may not be able to connect with you just like others, but they can certainly learn from you in this particular podcast.
Yeah, I always tell people that I'm like a basketball trainer for public speakers. Like if you go to a basketball trainer, they teach you how to dribble, they teach you how to pass, they teach you how to shoot. Well, I teach speakers how to use their body language on stage. I teach them how to use structure for their presentations. And then I teach them or I show them how to engage audiences, how to ask questions, how to get people involved in your talk. So in those three elements, what I do, my big thing is exercises. I teach people exercise, like simple exercises, like put your hands up here and then say, I am stepping up. And then I have the audience do it. And then you can do it right from home. You can go, I am stepping back down. And you can hear your voice go up and down, but learning how to control and modulate your voice and learning how to raise your body language and to express things with your body language, those are the kinds of exercises that speakers should be working on rather than focusing on the perfect word. Because what I say is important, but how I say it makes all the difference in the world. Put those two things together and you have a dynamite speaker, right?
Right, David. Now, you see, not everyone can be, very expressive in the way they with the subject that they talk, but they are experts. A lot of people nowadays, especially in public speaking, are subject matter experts, and they may not be great, say, presenters, but their ideas are great. How do you calibrate both the parts of how you say it as well as with your expertise? Because it's all about personalities. It's all about someone who is a bit more on the subdued side, subtle side. How can you ask them to suddenly become so eloquent in terms of their gestures, body language? So how do you calibrate these things? Otherwise, if they focus too much on that, they forget the expertise part, and that is where the value for the audience is.
100%. Wow, I couldn't agree more. And that's where I come in with exercises. So if you do the exercise, it's just going back to basketball. If you go to a trainer and they teach you how to dribble and pass and shoot, you'll develop your own style within those abilities, but you still have to learn the basics. See, a lot of people, they're professionals, they're experts, but they never took the time to master stagecraft or stage presence. So a lot of people, and I deal with a lot of people, they make excuses for that they can't do this or they're not that way. But a lot of times they just never really have been trained in the art of speaking. So you don't have to be expressive like me, right? But you have to be able to at least express a little bit. And it doesn't matter how much of an expert you are in one field, you also should know then that being an expert in another field is going to require a lot of discipline in that field as well. It doesn't matter if I'm an expert pianist or piano player or guitar player, I still would have to develop a new discipline if I want to be an expert speaker as well. So you really got to put those two things together because speaking is its own skill set. And a lot of people, they think that they've been speaking. I've been speaking my whole life, but have you been speaking in the most effective way? And that's where a speaker trainer like myself, we come in, we do the exercises. And a lot of people, they're like, I'm an introvert. And I say, that's great because introverts are some of the best speakers out there. They're well thought out. You put so much into your words and the meaning. A lot of extroverts, really strong extroverts like me, we could just talk and talk and talk. But we still use the same tools no matter who we are to get a message across. So what I teach are the tools to help people develop presence, to help them structure their talks. Not even structure, really. A lot of it's about using hook phrases and engaging the audience. And a lot of people, they're just kind of scared to go out and do that. And then they come and work with me and they realize, holy smokes, if I do that, if I just go a little bit further than I normally would, I get a little bit of a different reaction from the audience. And a lot of times they love it. The reaction is, it improves because their game improves. They have more confidence on stage. They now understand this new discipline. And what I do for my clients is I help them learn how to practice during everyday conversations. just getting people to agree with you. You want audiences to agree with you. So you want to use like yes set little micro agreements with the audience. Or you want the audience to maybe raise their hands. So you want to ask people questions. You want to get good at yes or no questions or open-ended. And once you understand the art of these skill sets, then when you get on stage and your nerves are, everybody gets high nerves, right? Everybody on stage, like, we're all scared. But when you know what you're doing, your fears don't go down. They just go away because you're doing perfect. You're doing it perfect, right? Like you're not going, or you're doing the perfect practice, really. And then when you get on stage, you're not there learning, you're there to show off your skill set. And that's really what we want to do on stage. We want to think about being on stage as an opportunity to show off our skill set, not a place to be learning how to speak. So what I'd like to do is go backtrack and teach people right in daily habits for their conversation that work well on stage.
Right, Devin. Now, when you talk about stage presence, what is this stage presence about? Is it about your persona, you go there, or is it about your mannerisms? Secondly, a lot of things nowadays happen online. How do you bring that stage presence online? You might be a great, very open person in terms of the real stage, but online, if you do the same thing, you may come out very different. Sometimes it may be even stupid. So how do you bring that part? Whereas somebody who is very sort of an introvert on Zoom or anywhere else, he may come out very differently, much more with gravity. So help us understand, how should one look at stage presence?
Yeah, that stage presence is great because every individual has a different presence when they're on stage. Some people are, it's great, they have high energy, but not everybody has high energy. So really what you want to learn to do is develop your presence. What do you do? Like some people do big facial gestures or they have big pauses. Some people use a lot of hand gestures. Some people use punchlines and little anecdotes and witty stuff in their presentation, and that becomes their presence. Once you develop that, then it really doesn't matter if you're online or offline. You just bring that person. So if once you get really comfortable, confident with yourself, then it doesn't really matter anymore whether you're online, offline, whether you're making a video, whether somebody's shooting you with a camera somewhere. You just get into this zone, which people would call a alter ego, right? So that's kind of what you do. You develop this character and you become that character whenever you get a chance to hit the mic. And I tell people all the time, I'm not out in the public going really energetic, but when I do get on a mic, I just become this person who I am right now and just get in that moment and really enjoy that moment.
Right.
But everybody can do that. Everybody.
Right, David. If you can recall any particular example, success story, someone who has got much, benefit from your coaching, so that we'll know how exactly you do it in real life.
I'll tell you one the other day. A guy came up to me and I did some training at a car dealership. And he was telling me about how I taught them how to structure. Every speech has the same thing: opening, body, close. But then you have the ways, you have questions and different ways to tell the stories. And a lot of people don't do the close. So I just went through that with him. His car dealership was shutting down. This was back in COVID, but I just ran into him a little while ago. So in COVID, his car dealership was shutting down. They're laying off something like 70 employees, but they didn't tell him that. They just told him that he was getting laid off. And he told me that he was walking into the head office and he was just running through a quick 30-second speech, just using the structure that I taught him. And he went in there and he just did that. He just did a 30-second speech and ended up, after that, they came up and told him, hey, you just saved 70 people's jobs by giving that little short 30-second speech. It doesn't matter whether you have 30 seconds or 30 minutes. It matters the message that you get across. And when he told me that story, I felt really good. It's always good to hear those stories, but to know that he saved a lot of jobs, well, that's awesome.
Absolutely. Absolutely, Devin. Now, in terms of people who are fearful, terrified, almost terrified of speaking on stage, about public speaking, even online, they are a bit, and now the world is turning towards all things online, most of the things online. So they cannot run away from it. What is your advice for them, how they can come up to this task of speaking in public?
I'll tell, if you're that person, I'll tell you a little story. When I first started speaking, I was scared too. And what I did was, in my living room, I drew eyes on paper, and I pasted them around my living room. And I talked to these eyes every single day until I was comfortable in the single space in my room talking out loud. And my neighbors could hear me. So it was really embarrassing. But when I got finally comfort in my own space, in my own skin, in my own house, watching myself on video, when I went on the stage, it was totally different, because now I wasn't thinking about myself anymore. I was thinking about the audience, and I was making sure that the audience was having a good time. And once you get out of your own fears, you start to be a biofeedback unit of the audience, and you can raise their energy and make them laugh, and you can be a part of why they lose their energy. And it's really about learning how to control that your personal space. Got to get in control of it. And like I said, I had to learn on a wall. I've talked to the ocean for hours and hours and hours, doing speeches at the ocean just to get comfortable speaking out loud. And I don't want to say there's an easy way, because even with my clients, they have to also go through this process to building up your confidence. And the more fear you have, the smaller you have to start. But every great speaker started out as a bad speaker. So every speaker had to go through that journey. It's just a matter of when you say, you know what, enough is enough. I have more in me. I can really step it up. I want to step it up. I want to get more out of my life. I want to be stronger and faster and more ambitious. And I want my relationships to improve, and I want to make more money. And when you get that idea going down, now it's just a matter of when you're going to get started. So I always have my clients start by just using perfect practice, just perfectly practicing the skills that you need to do to develop. And that way you can overcome that stage fright. And you do it not on the stage. This is something that it kind of drives me nuts about the industry, is that, oh, you got to learn on the stage. No, you got to learn how to get in here first. You got to be in here and be 100% comfortable in just being able to talk out loud. Being able to talk out loud scares a lot of people. So if you're unable to talk out loud in a room in your house, it's going to be hard to get in front of people and do it. And so that's how you got to go. You got to figure out where you're at. Some people are good starting in large audiences. They can start there. Some people, you got to back it up and just learn how to talk to an empty room, even the bathroom, even your car, you're just driving around talking to yourself.
Absolutely, Devin. I understand it, and I'm sure a lot of people will get a lot of tips from this particular episode. One more thing I wanted to understand is that while speaking, one should focus on what? Either to educate, entertain, or inspire. Because if you look at all three things, you might again get confused, or only some people are maybe very good at it. How do you want to tell them what they should focus on when they are speaking on stage?
Mm-hmm. For a beginner, for a newer speaker, I would say focus on one thing at a time. So if you want to focus on being educational, great, do an educational speech, but don't get stuck in that's the only way of speaking. Maybe you'll do that a little while, and then you'll say, well, you now want to learn how to be an inspirational speaker. So you'll start incorporating that. For someone like me, when I'm doing presentations, I want to be entertaining, and I want to be educational, and I want to be inspirational. I want all three of those things. But I've also started with just doing not even one whole thing. I'm telling you, I start with one single skill set where I'm using just one hook phrase. Like, has it ever occurred to you? And I'll incorporate that into my talks. And when I'm doing talks, maybe I'm focusing on the education, but I'm going to have one or two inspirational or something funny that I'm going to practice incorporating into that talk so that I can develop all three of those skills, because those are you want to be all three of those skills. At some point, you have to be, really, if you want to get to the top of your speaking game.
Absolutely. Absolutely. There is much to understand and learn from you about public speaking, Devin. And I'm sure a lot of people would like to learn more about you, from you, engage with you professionally. So what is the best way for them to connect with you?
Yeah, they can go right to my website, Devin, Devin, Bisanz, Bisanz.com, and get on my newsletter. I do a weekly newsletter. It's fun. I have a lot of people that are joining it, and it's a great way to get some tips and get connected and join a community that we're building.
Wonderful. With this, it's a wrap on this very special edition of the KAJ Masterclass Live. Thank you so much indeed for joining us.
It's been a pleasure.